Picard here?
Stardate 9770073. This is Star Trek Discovery Pod, the #1 podcast about the existential pain of living with a consciousness of death and how it defines us as human beings. My name is Mike Moody, and the one swords person I'd like to take with me on a great adventure, you would say.
The greatest adventure, as Leonard Nimoy would say.
Right. Is Ghost Dog, played by Forrest Whitaker in Ghost Dog Way the Samurai, 1999 Jim Jarmusch classic.
Oh,
so
nice.
fancy.
Yeah.
I'm Grant Davis, and if I got to bring a swords person
Swords person.
with me, Arya Stark. I don't know.
Solid choice.
She turned into a pretty
Solid
badass swords
With
lady
needle.
with needle.
The man with
She
no
can
name.
use both hands. Crazy.
Yeah, the little flip thing.
Yeah, fancy. And I'm Mariah Gossett, and the swords person I would bring with me is none other than Inigo Montoya.
Strong, right?
Damn, that's such a good pick.
Best pick so far.
Princess Bride. It's a classic, and I love it.
Clyde, can you beat that?
Yeah, I like the way you said so far. So I'm Clyde Haynes, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I thought about Inigo.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about Mad Mardigan from Willow. But
All right.
I'm going with Lee Mumbai, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh,
Ooh.
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Modern classic. I like
Yes.
it. I like it very much. All right, so tonight we're breaking down episode 4 of Picard, Absolute Candor, a.k.a. Touched by a Romulan, in more ways than one.
Wow.
One was on the dick by your sister.
Oof.
This episode was written
So
by...
incestuous.
Is that what happened?
That's what happened. There was some under the covers. All right, this episode was written by Michael Chabon
Whoa.
Wow.
All right, now my headphones are too loud.
and directed by
Wait, what did you say, Grant? I can't hear anything anymore.
No more.
Chabon and directed by Jonathan Frakes, old #1 himself, not the dog, the man.
The man.
Not to
Man.
be confused.
Not to be confused with the mutt.
Because I
Although it would
was
be-
confused there for a minute.
It would
Thank
be
you
dope
for
if a dog could
clearing that
direct.
Wow.
#1, go #2.
Beavis and Butthead jokes, everybody. Before we dive into episode 4 of Picard, I want to remind everybody to subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. Seriously, we need these reviews. We need these subscriptions. We need 5-star reviews. If you've already subscribed to the pod on Apple or wherever you listen, please share the show with your friends who love Star Trek. Get them to subscribe. That's the only way we're going to grow and be able to keep talking about all this great new Star Trek content.
And then you have something to talk to your friends about.
Yes. So please share, rate, review, subscribe, Star Trek Discovery Pod, and of course, for links to all of your subscription options, go to StarTrekPod.co,
CO.
because I didn't
Co.
renew the com domain.
Good.
We don't have to.
We don't have to tell everybody.
Admit it.
Absolute
Family
candor.
business.
Absolute candor.
We're
That
not
was a
lying to each other tonight.
That was a pathetic move on your part to not renew.
It was pretty bad.
Absolute candor.
Good job. Yeah. Also, if you are our audio-only listener, listening with your earbuds on the plane, train, automobiles, wherever you're listening to us, you can see our beautiful faces. We are live streaming now, 9 p.m. Central Time on YouTube or Twitch. You can see all of our beautiful gestures to each other.
I turned it away from there once Mike started flicking people off.
Good job.
Too much.
That's
Nice,
good.
Grant.
But yeah, you can also interact with us on there. You can leave comments. It's super fun. And if we get enough viewers, we're going to keep this going through to Star Trek Discovery Season 3. So you can hear us talk all about Michael Burnham again. We can have our one lone action figure of her. You can see the tiny action figure instead of us just describing it to
My
you.
thumb is bigger.
It's true. But yeah, so check us out on YouTube or Twitch. Clyde, what else?
Yeah, and if you're watching us live on YouTube, Twitch, or wherever you're watching us, we want you to talk to us. Ask us questions, interact with us. And if you're going to do that, make sure that you put in the word pod, P-O-D, in front of your question. so that we can make sure that we see it in all caps, preferably. But yeah, and if you want to add us on Twitter, just hit us up at Star Trek Pod, so that if you do that, we can kind of see your tweets.
Tweet.
Hey, I have another thing I want to add.
What is it that you want to add there, Grant?
I want to point out that we're both wearing yellow sweaters.
There you go.
You were
Completely
nice.
unplanned.
You were nice enough to make us some comm badges.
We all got
Yes.
some
Yeah.
sweet pins here. Oh,
I
yeah.
lost mine already.
I'm ready.
No, it's there.
It is?
4
Just
to
locked
beam
out.
up.
And if you guys want to help us out, there's a couple ways you can do that. Of course, do the Apple Podcasts. Go there, give us a 5-star rating, write a little bit of a review on there, like 1, 2, 3.
10 stars.
3 sentences.
10 stars.
Does it go up to 10 now? It goes to 10?
It's 2020, man.
Give us the maximum number of stars it has. 5, I'm pretty sure. And write that little review. We really appreciate all the support there. But hey, if you guys have some money in your pocket and you want a better way to support, not better, different way to support us.
Better.
Better. Give us that money. Just give it to us through Patreon.com.
So that we can buy real comm
We
badges.
need real ones.
These are paper.
These paper ones just ain't cutting it. Patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. Go there and make a $2 an episode pledge, and you'll get invited to our exclusive, super sweet Slack channel.
Exclusive.
It's very fancy. We're always talking. We
good-
have a bunch of different channels where we're talking spoilers and discussion, general topics about not getting enough sleep because your kids are shitting all over the bath. Hey, too much information.
No one needs to know that.
Absolute
No.
We
candor.
do have great gifts, I will say, as well. And people make them for us in there. It's phenomenal.
Absolute candor.
Absolute candor.
Every time
Absolute
we say
candor.
something awkward today, absolute candor. We're off the hook.
Today's theme.
Once again, patreon.com/Star Trek Pod, and we appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much.
If we get 100 patrons by the time episode 5 of Picard airs, what's going to happen?
You made note of this, and I was just gonna dodge.
We're almost halfway there.
If we get 100 patrons, I'll shave this. I'll shave this luxurious mane of hair
When
I
you-
coiffed to the side here.
Yeah.
I will bick my head. I will look balder than Clyde.
I mean, you were complaining
Good
that
luck.
you wanted less forehead. If you did it, it would be no forehead. It would just be all
Head.
head.
Forehead. All
head.
forehead.
See, here's the thing,
all hair.
Mariah. I already know. I'm nearing the end of my hair cycle here. It's already going on vacation. It's fleeing down to the back. So
So tragic.
I have limited time, and I want to hold on to it.
Absolute candor.
It'll
If
be
you
all right.
shave it all off, it may not come back.
It won't. I know it. It just won't. It'll
Think
be-
of all the toupees you can have fun with. It'll be great.
So
It's low
wiggy.
maintenance. It's quick.
Mhm.
I'm telling you. It's like,
All right.
So the
Interesting.
point is,
You look good with it.
become a patron at patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. If we get 100 patrons by episode 5 of Picard, Grant's going to shave his head, and you'll be able to watch.
Yes.
So we're putting a camera in his bathroom. I mean, it's already there.
What the?
that's weird.
Don't need to know. Absolute candor.
Hashtag
Absolute
absolute candor. Okay, and if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple or wherever, we will read it on the pod. We have a few new reviews. Who wants to read one?
I can take the first one.
Do it.
So, Cordray2643 says, there are not many podcasts that get my attention for an hour plus, but this ragtag crew of misfits put a smile on my face as I relive the episode of the week. Whether it's Picard or Discovery, I'm amazed that they keep my wandering mind focused on task at hand. I clearly miss a lot in each episode, but the guys and gal, that's me, are there to make sure that nothing goes unnoticed and I am prepared for the next episode. Not only do I enjoy the podcast heightens my enjoyment of the series.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think this podcast will be my first Patreon relationship.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Thank
5
you.
stars.
Someone who wants to see your head shaved. Awesome.
Get an exclusive.
We have one more review.
All right, I'll jump in,
All right.
because it's shorter than the one that Mariah read.
You're welcome.
Co-Klotz says, great dynamic. They have a conversation that welcomes all thoughts and theories. They're fun, but ask serious questions, and it adds more enjoyment to watching the show. Keep up the good. 5 stars.
Keeping up the good
Whoop, whoop.
here at Star Trek Pod.
Pats on the back for everyone.
Good job,
We
everybody.
did it. We did it. USA.
Thank you so much for the reviews. We treasure them. We hold them dear to our bosom.
Next to our comm badges.
Next to our comm badges.
Your reviews.
They're
right here.
written
Yeah.
tinily on the inside.
All right.
Inscriptions.
So, episode 4 of Picard, touched by a Romulan in more ways than one. One was on the dick by your sister. Who's got some hot takes?
It's a rookie move. Keeping
Next
the
time you do
earphones
that,
on.
just exit the room
Yell it from back
guy.
there.
and then come back in. 'Cause that was loud.
I'm sweating. I was so anticipating it.
I liked it. All right. Who's going first? Hot take.
I'll go.
Do it. Do it.
Camera 1. Boom. Give it to me. Man, I loved it. I'm back.
Yeah.
I am back in with this show. I thought 3 episodes, the first 3 episodes, I don't know, preamble, I wasn't digging it. There's a lot of like setting up the pieces, moving around, introducing us to characters, and me going, do I care about them? I don't know. But here, it just jumped right into the action. The dialogue, the characterization of everyone was so much more fun. The plot with the sword elf was badass.
Romulan Legolas. Yeah.
All of this is
Elnor.
super exciting, and I loved it. That's my hot take. I loved it.
Fucking A.
I loved it.
Clyde, let's hear from you.
I liked it very much.
All right.
I'm still hedging my bets just a little bit. I really dug the pacing, the action on this. I'm still not completely sold on the crew, though by the end I was like, very much dig Rios, very much dig Elnor, and love 7 of 9. Those are, I feel like...
For her 5 seconds
Yeah.
on screen.
Well, but
She
what
passed out real good.
Well, what it is I love the idea that those are the 3 characters I trust. Like there's something about the way they move around the ship, the way they interact with Picard. I'm like, wow, these are 3 that I trust. I'm not completely sold on Raffi, even though that's supposed to be his number 1. And I'm way out on Girardi. I love Alison Peel, but, and I've got a theory about that later, but I don't trust them yet. And the emergency blank holograms, like I love that.
So many holograms.
So many. I thought that we're starting to finally get at least part of that team up that I've been looking for. The ship is badass. I enjoy that. We've got fight scenes and then some Star Trek dialogue with warrior monk nuns.
Yes.
Romulan monk warrior nuns. There's a lot about this that I liked.
Cool.
Yeah, I want the Romulan warrior nun movie immediately. I need it in my life.
Why just a movie? A series.
Yeah, I mean, anything really. Women kicking ass is my favorite genre of anything. So the idea that there's like a whole cohort of like religious nuns who I'm doing the hand gesture opening of the book who can also kill you is incredible. So I need that immediately. I think my hot take is 1, we're on an alien planet. I always fucking love it when we're on an alien planet all the time. I think it's talking about some interesting themes within our current political climate. And then the biggest thing I wrote down was daddy issues. Throughout the whole episode.
So much daddy issues.
So many daddy issues. So yeah, my hot take, daddy issues.
All the best cowboys have daddy issues.
Indeed.
It's the name of a
Including
lost
the
episode.
Space Cowboys.
Mike,
Hey,
what you got? What's your hot take?
I'm going to drop a few pros and cons for my hot take.
Okay.
Pros. Frakes rubbed his stank on this one the right way.
Phrasing.
Rubbed it.
Not feeling it. Not feeling it.
All right, the pacing was great. There was a lot of story here, but it all moved along as like a really great, brisk pace. That dogfight in space against the
that was
bird of
amazing.
prey, that was fucking dope.
I felt it.
Yeah.
I could feel the what choreography
I
of
will
ships.
say, though, you can tell who has been on a show with spaceships before and who has not. If you go back and you rewatch them all in the brig, like when it's
Oh,
moving, like
yeah.
Alison Peel, I don't think is used to it yet.
No.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
I will give it to them. But
Just lean.
yeah, I was like, there's
Lean with
ones
it.
who look like they were a little too like.
Speaking of Alison Pill, there were a lot of fun character dynamics that started to develop here. Like you were saying, the crew is kind of gelling here, I think, which is good, especially between Girardi and Rios, which I like. It feels like this crew and the various holograms that keep showing up, they're going to be really fun to get to know. Speaking of holograms, there's a fuck ton of holograms.
And that holodeck.
Yeah.
Picard loves a holodeck.
Oh, he
moment.
does love a good holiday.
Do you think it's that Patrick Stewart just really didn't want to leave that chateau? He's like, we can film as long as we mostly film at my little chateau here.
That's what I was thinking. Because he hates that place, doesn't he? Doesn't Picard like want to leave the chateau? And then he has the hologram guy make him the chateau.
Well, he wants chateau in space.
Okay.
He wants to repair his.
Chateau
He wants to.
in space.
Look, I still think that as much as we love the crew and the chateau, not having Laris there is a miss.
That's one of my cons.
Huge miss.
But
okay.
speaking of holograms, I really liked that running gag, especially when the last hologram showed up, looking and acting like my cholo cousin Rudy from South Texas.
I love that guy.
Hashtag orale.
That might have been my favorite. Like hologram.
He was
Just
great.
the long hair.
Oh,
Did you
talking in Spanish?
Yeah.
Like, but he was so cool. I loved it.
Did you guys notice that the assistant that helped Picard make the hologram thing? I'm guessing it's his Romulan dude who must have given the schematics. They said his name was
Oh yeah.
Chi Bone, which
Like
they
Shavon.
know.
I noticed
they
that.
spelled Zabon,
Shimon!
but they wrote they pronounced it Chi Bone, and I'm thinking that must have been a reference to Michael Chabon.
Shimon.
Shimon.
Nice.
All right. I like that the show is kind of leaning into the idea that this is Picard's final journey, which it did here. It's a good theme to have because I don't think he's gonna. Even though we did get a second season renewal, he might not be on it.
Yeah, didn't he already offer like
Whoopi?
a spot on season 2? Do you think
Yeah.
that was some bullshit, like a red herring to us,
No,
dangling that to her, being like, "Suckers, I die, it's over."
I don't think he's gonna die, but maybe he becomes like something really big in Starfleet, and so it's like a very minimal.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Picard Starfleet, you
Yeah.
know, and that's how it's still Picard.
Or maybe Soji shaves her head because they get enough patrons, and she becomes the new Picard,
Who knows?
and she just carries the mantle.
Okay, like Mariah, I really liked the Romulan murder nuns. Those were pretty cool.
Murder nuns.
The dialogue was better here. It was still kind of pedestrian, but it was better.
It was so much better,
It was better.
when Allison Pill enters the scene.
Yes.
Really?
Man, when she walks
I
in,
find her so annoying.
Thank you.
Loved her.
No,
Nice.
I really like her quirks. I like her human.
I
her
think
hum-
she
she's the
is
only one that
out
feels
to
like a
get them.
person.
Are you guys high-fiving now?
Yeah.
We did.
Mike, bring it back.
Oh,
Our high five.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that noise. Hey,
shrivel in your face.
I seriously thought though that like she suddenly had personality.
She's
where she didn't in the first two
nosy.
episodes.
She's
a
the only
lot.
one who acts like a person on the show.
She was quirky. She
Yeah.
was observant about stuff. We got a lot of character development with her without it being like heavy-handed. I thought in the way she delivered it.
Yeah,
I
no,
loved it.
I think they're trying to make her character annoying.
Yeah, I think there's.
I think it's on purpose.
It's like rapid fire. It's
Who is this? What's happening?
Yeah,
What's going on?
exactly
She needs to
that.
know too many things.
which makes me
Is
very
she a
suspicious.
Cylon?
Maybe.
I hate to say it. I think she is a Sith though. A synth.
Synth?
I do.
Not
think
a
she's-
Sith.
Not a
Quite-
Not a
Sith.
Sith.
No.
A
She's a-
synthesizer.
She's a
She's
Sith.
not a knight of
No,
Ren.
She's a Sith synth. No, I do think she's a I think she's a synthetic.
So I have
Interesting.
a few cons. It's kind of weird that we have the whole convent of murder nun ladies, but we end up with a dude from the convent and not a lady.
Again, daddy issues.
Well,
N-
because he already didn't belong.
Right.
yeah,
He
No.
wasn't supposed to be there.
it
'Cause
makes
it's
sense.
the band of misfits.
Though I do like him. He's got that swag. Like, I mean, that was like, okay, now we've got somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
He's moody and he needs daddy affection.
He does.
All right, con. The Narek Soji stuff was kind of boring. I need a twist there really soon.
Super
That-
boring.
That's my hot take.
Oof, end of hot takes.
So let's dive.
I didn't know we were still on your hot take. I
Yeah.
thought we'd just gone into it.
I sent you a rundown, sir.
Let me pull it up on a tab.
So let's dive a little deeper into Picard episode 4. Okay.
Are we gonna slide in on some socks?
What?
The sock sliding scene?
Risky
Oh
business.
Yes.
God.
That was
The montage of
terrible.
ice skating
Okay.
and Borg file
Let's
folders.
let's go there.
It was so sexy.
These two.
Ugh,
Oh,
those two. They
Okay,
went on a bad date.
Last week I was standing for these two. This week it's the same thing but lamer than last week. There's just no development here. I'm not really. It feels like a CW show with these two on.
Yes.
Well, what's troubling me is
Oh,
that,
and when I say these two, I'm talking about Narek and
Soji.
Soji.
well, I think what troubles me is that they really are or can be strong characters, and I do think that they're strong actors, and they bring something to it. But you've just got them kind of out here doing the same thing over and over again. I'm not sure what we're doing here.
He's just taking her on dumb dates, trying to get into that synthetic pants.
It's an adorable meet cute between a boring, emotionless Romulan and a robot girl.
Well, he's
How
in,
could
like-
that not be
he's in, like,
charming?
The Romulan KGB, and she's like a secret robot assassin. How are these the two most boring characters on this show?
Yeah, the holograms are way more interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think he should be a little
boy.
bit more hot-headed because he's a Romulan?
I don't know. I think because he's in like their weird KGB, he has to be a little bit more calculated. Obviously, the sister got all the weird shit.
If this was a 90s.
She got a lot of weird.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a lot of weird.
Yeah.
Rizzo's all the weird shit.
How are
wrapped
we
up.
feeling about the Rizzo Narek almost sexy times on this show?
I think you guys need to stop incest kink shaming them.
Right.
I'm kidding. Incest kink shame? It's weird.
It would be hot if they weren't brother and sister.
I guess.
Yeah.
We would have to have reestablished the whole show from the beginning.
I mean, that's
that
what I'm
they're not.
doing. That's
You
what
just
I'm doing.
pretend that they're.
I'm pretending.
No, I just think this needs to move along a little bit faster.
Okay.
in
But
some way.
didn't you feel like at the very end, at least they did try to progress and say like, look, he knows what she is. They both it kind of laid out a little bit of what their plan is. He said, my goal is to not have her explode and we lose track of all the other ones that we know exist.
Yes.
Instead, I'm going to start seeding little bits of doubt in there so that I might be able to flip and turn her and gather that information from
Yes,
her. I'm like,
however,
he
we-
outlaid the plan.
But we already knew that. That was
I
so-
don't think we.
If it wasn't like
theorizing last week,
if it
kinda
wasn't
crazy.
stated directly, it was just so telegraphed that that's the plan.
Yeah.
And now this week we're just laying it all out. It's like, oh, I kind of figured
Sliding
that.
in socks.
Sliding in socks.
Sliding inside.
That montage.
It's like remember in Daredevil when him and Elektra go to the playground and they start like having this sexual dance fight thing going on in the kids' playground.
I mean, it would be better if they at least had a sexy dance fight.
Fight, right? Yeah.
Like,
Or Catwoman and Benjamin Bratt in Catwoman when they're playing basketball against each other. Either of those scenes. I feel like this goes up in that echelon.
maybe I watch too much like HBO Showtime, but I'm just like, if you're gonna give me like the fluff, you know, of sliding socks, give me some sexy, you know, at the end.
They were heavy making out. I was watching this with my two little girls and I was like, huh,
I mean, they're pretty.
really kissing each other.
They're really pretty.
I just was looking for the payoff, right? Like you're in this underground
Like find
tunnel
a file or
with-
something.
something with like lasers and you're sliding on socks. Like, but what was the payoff? The payoff was you get into a fight and walk away. What the hell were you down there for?
I was, you know what? I was really hoping what we were gonna see was that he was gonna show her how to slide there and avoid the lasers in like a cool way, and then she was gonna try it, but suddenly trip out into being like crazy robot girl and like do flips that she didn't know she could do just to avoid it and like outdo it, and then she was like, "What? How the fuck did I do that?" He's
but
like,
he doesn't want her to know that she is that.
"Well,
yet.
then he should stop setting her up with sexy, risky business sliding moves."
No, he does want her to know because he's saying things like, "Oh, you weren't on the manifest for this flight. What's up with that?" He wants to provoke it, but not in a way where she'll automatically trigger and start shooting everybody.
Self-discovery. He's trying to inspire her to investigate it herself.
Absolute candor.
Self discovery. I see what you did there.
What'd y'all think of Elnor, the Romulan Legolas?
Awesome.
Yeah. The nuns keep saying he doesn't belong here, probably because he belongs in Middle Earth in the Woodland realm. But I thought it was fucking cool. He cuts heads pretty good.
Oh man, that was intense for Star Trek.
I like that little twist flip thing.
Dude, that was exciting.
It was so quickly done. He tears through 3 people and crosses what seems to be like a good 15 feet in seconds to slice that dude. And then Picard has the gall to say, "How dare you kill him?" when that dude was coming down on 85-year-old Patrick Stewart with a sword.
Needed to kill him though.
He didn't need to kill him.
I agree that he didn't need to, but it was great. And what made it
But
even
that guy's
better,
sword was coming at him,
But
right?
here's what
Just
made it
chop
even
his
better.
arm off.
It's what he said, right? We talk about dialogue.
Yeah.
It's the, hey, you don't want to do this. He was like, I don't. And then you kill him and goes, I told you, you didn't want to do it. Like that, I mean, that had swag.
He goes, "Choose to live." And
Yeah.
that guy's like,
That was cool.
I'm going to choose to attack an 86-year-old man who can't even, he's not even holding a sword anymore.
He threw
I'm going
his
to
sword
murder
down.
him because he tried saving us, but then he lost his gusto. I don't even understand the bitch and complaint about the Romulans. No one else was fucking helping him. At least Picard did something. He like shipped a bunch of them off to this
Right,
planet.
right.
And then like he lost a fight with the Federation. Was like, well, I don't have any power. I can't just make my own ships go there.
The-
And everyone's bitching at him like he's some
Well,
weird scapegoat.
But he didn't come back and help them again. He didn't find another way. He just quit.
But
Well,
no one else did anything.
Yeah, but
Aren't
I
they
think
worse?
But he was the hood ornament for that whole
he was the
movement.
the white savior of that movement.
There you go.
Oh.
And so I
That's
think
true.
that's what they were trying to get at with a lot of the way that this is structured is the
Yeah.
idea that you cannot be a singular savior of any population. You have to
Yes.
go within the community to find solutions. The community has to dictate what happens to them.
Well, and I think it's really interesting that the thing that Picard is dealing with is that he tried to do this, what he thought was noble gesture, which was actually arrogant and thinking, because of my status and who I am, there's no way they'd let me walk away. And so he was like, well, if you won't give me what I want, I'll quit.
right.
And that would hurt you more than it hurt me.
I mean, he's in colonial wear.
I know.
Like full colonial garb.
And in fact,
That's true.
yeah.
He looks like Belloc from like Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think part of it is he spent 14 years like being prideful and pouting largely. And what people are kind of responding to is, yes, you made this grand gesture, and yes, you did all these things, but while you were sitting back at your chateau pouting,
Mhm.
we were all hurting. You could have gotten up.
Yes.
Right? Like you could have gotten up, sucked up your pride, and done something else. And so they're still mad about that. So I think that's kind of the issue that they've been dealing with.
Yeah.
I love when Picard said to the Romulan murder nun that he allowed the perfect to become the enemy of good.
Right.
I thought that was really great.
Mhm.
And it kind of just told the whole story there of why he didn't come back. And go ahead.
I was going to say, this is another character that has a lot of depth and is interesting, and I want to know more about.
Right?
And we'll
Yeah.
never
The
see
head
them
nun,
again.
I
yeah.
know.
Probably
The
not.
Romulan nun lady?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Wait, I
feel
thought
like
we see her next episode, right? Oh, maybe not.
No, I don't
No.
think we see her.
Didn't
I
you
mean,
hear-
maybe she'll come through. That'd be dope.
I may never come back this way.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That
That
was
was
so long.
sad.
I
Yeah.
mean, I just feel I keep seeing these characters that have this rich backstory that you're like, yo, you're just gonna leave them and give us more Girardi. All right, okay, thanks.
I was liking Girardi finally.
I like Girardi.
I think this was her best episode. Listen,
That seems like a backhanded comment.
nope. I mean, a
I
little.
agree, though. It's like she is developing as, like we said earlier, like she's developing as a character. I think they're developing her to be somewhat of a nuisance, and I
Well,
can feel it coming.
And I would agree and say I think part of it is we're not, or at least I think we're not supposed to trust her.
Yeah.
I think they're putting it in a situation where we don't trust her, and that's what I'm reacting to.
I think I like the idea that she was bored because she doesn't have a specific job yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a crew. Raffi has something to do. The captain obviously is captaining and yelling at his holograms. He has things to do. Picard is figuring out what this whole journey is going to be, and she's kind of just along for the ride.
Yeah, because she was like, I finished reading like all of my backlog of
Yeah.
magazines and whatever.
She's like, I watched all your Netflix, dude. What else you have?
What else do you have on this ship?
Oh, and he had the only thing he had was Klingon operas or something.
Yeah.
And there's a story to that. I wanna hear
Rios
that
is
story.
Fascinating.
Is he rereading that same book again?
I don't
Yeah.
think he's I think he's still reading it.
The
It's pretty-
Tragic Sense of Life? He was at the very beginning of the book again in that scene. I was like,
He's a slow reader.
I love when she was eventually saying like, "Oh, the existential pain of living with death. What a great conversation killer that is." And I was like, that whole exchange was just better than everything we saw in the first 3 episodes.
What I like about Rios is that he's a Han Solo character, but there's another level with him where he just tells you what his issues are.
Yeah.
He's just like, he doesn't just keep it bottled up like Han Solo, you know? It's kind of like on the surface a little obvious, but it's kind of cool.
While we're talking about this guy and his holograms, what is up with his accent? It's all over the place.
So I
Sometimes
think
it's
he's
Spanish, sometimes it's Irish.
He's British. I watched an
Okay.
interview with him.
Yeah.
And
Is he
the actor's British?
inconsistent?
yes.
I
Oh.
thought he was Australian.
Oh, maybe
I thought it was
confused.
Latinx.
Well, you
Clearly,
can be Latinx.
none of us know.
You can be Latinx and live in places where you have other accents.
I thought he was Mexican.
Come on, Miguel. Come on.
Lo siento.
Well, we see whenever he's like sitting in his captain's chair, he seems to be talking with an American accent, I would guess. But there was the part where he walks into the holodeck, the chateau holodeck thing that was going on, and suddenly he's rolling out that Irish accent again, which made me wonder.
Well, I think there's multiple holograms.
No, that
Each
was a hologram.
Each hologram has a different accent.
Yeah.
But he walked in acting like he was the captain, and he said essentially like, "Oh, I even tried to tell you guys that the Qurani system or whatever it was is now run over by like evil bad guys and renegades, whatever."
Okay,
and
that was the captain, yeah.
And that was the captain, right?
Mhm.
But his accent all of a sudden was going Irish in
I don't
that
remember that.
scene, which made me think, is it sometimes the hologram acting like the captain and walking in on scenes? And is that potentially a problem we're going to see where we're not sure
that's
if
too
we're dealing with
much.
the captain or if we're dealing with one of his holograms?
Do we want
know.
that? That's
Interacting
too
with people?
much.
I don't
That's a little
know.
much. Yeah.
Because what was the accent there otherwise?
I didn't pick up on the accent
Yeah.
change.
Well, if you guys are in the chat and you also noticed the accent being super whack and all over the place, let me know.
So a big part of the series is Picard confronting his past mistakes, paying the price for locking his ass up in that chateau for 14 years and leaving the job he started unfinished. We saw that come to a head here in episode 4. So my question to you guys is, how do you feel about this series being a big old like redemptive story for Picard? But it's a redemptive story that's based on events that we as viewers haven't seen or experienced.
And
really.
in a way, it feels like counter to what you knew about Picard before this, right?
Yes, it's asking us to accept a completely different version of Picard because of events that happened before the series started that we never saw. I feel there's a disconnect for me there in terms of how I feel about the character.
I feel like they have given us enough glimpses, and if you are familiar with his character from TNG, you can see how this is like a somewhat logical progression. I think minus the fact that he really shut down after he was let go from Starfleet. And I think, we sort of saw that in that scene they had last episode with Raffi, but I don't know. I guess maybe we need a little bit more emotional impact, some introspection on like his thoughts and feelings after he was let go from Starfleet to maybe further understand his motivations throughout this series. But
Do you think we're going to get, now that we have the big reveal of 7 of 9 dropping in, do you think we're going to have yet another episode where he has to apologize for his 15 or 14 years of dropping out of existence? Like, are they just going to hammer this every single episode? Does he have to constantly be atoning for that sin?
I think she's probably going to be more like, what the fuck are you doing out here, old man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she. I mean, it's interesting because they've never actually been together. Like as far as we know, they've never actually met.
Not on screen.
Not on screen. And so I think what we're looking at is him to so many people, the Romulans to Rios to Raffi. He, even though he stepped away from Starfleet, he embodies and is the symbolic representation of the Federation and their lack of action. And I think the fact that 7 of 9 is way out here, right, who too was a Starfleet officer, who's now looks like she's hanging out with the Fenris Rangers, right? So she's out here doing her solo ranger thing. She has to be looking at him also like, why are you out here? What are you doing?
You represent the system that failed.
These
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was having a little trouble with some of Picard's actions here. Like, he didn't seem to be for me, repentive enough
Hmm.
to the Romulans on this planet. The planet was called Vashti. Vashti.
Vashti.
And when Elnor is trying to get Picard to like express genuine feelings for him, like, "Oh, you love Data. What'd you think about me?" Picard is like, "I'm old. You're strong. Come help me." You know, it wasn't.
I remember you. You were that little shit we used to play with sticks and
Yeah.
shit.
Exactly.
I gave you the 3 Musketeers back.
It didn't feel like absolute candor to me.
No. And later, when Picard kind of arrogantly stomps into the Romulans only bar and makes like a big stink of it,
Mhm.
and ends up getting that one senator killed, it was kind of cool, but all that felt a little out of step. Like I'm saying, with the Picard we know. What did you guys think of Picard's actions and attitude?
I mean,
Did that work for you?
it's like, have you ever like tried to talk to an older family member about how maybe some of their war stories aren't heroic because what they ended up doing was not good? Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I generally avoid those
Yeah. you know.
conversations.
What? No one else likes to confront their family members?
Not if
Like,
I could help it.
in my mind,
About
for
anything
sure.
Yeah.
ever.
So mentally think about
In the
that
holodeck, I do that
situation. Yes,
like
yes.
every day.
But I think it's the idea that he can't come to terms with the fact that what he ultimately did, even the intention of it, probably wasn't good. Like, he's built this up in his head of like,
Okay.
I had this idea of this mission and it was going to work and we were going to rehouse and like replanet all of these folks who don't have a place to live. But in reality, he should not have been the one who was even working on that plane in the first place.
So he's still clinging to this self-righteousness,
Yeah.
even in the face of ultimately it failed people.
Yeah. Because it was flawed from the
But-
beginning.
But do we not also think that maybe Picard is dealing with a little bit of depression here?
Oh, 100%.
Like, and everyone else is just constantly shitting on the dude while he's still trying to do right by people. I mean, he's putting himself out there and at least making an effort, and everyone's like, "Oh, but I'm gonna need that apology from you," and he's like, "Fuck, dude, I tried.
Well, you know-
No one else tried."
I
I,
think-
don't know. I'm starting to root for him a
I
little
think
bit.
part of it though is there's this expectation that he's not living up to, and he's not living up to this expectation to us, the fan, because I am waiting for this incredibly capable admiral captain who could do all this stuff, was really sharp, was really the sharpest person in every room he was in. I don't see that guy, and I feel like what we're seeing is the people around him are thinking about the Picard from 14 years ago, and they're looking and they're going, well, where is that guy? And so he's not meeting these expectations. And I don't know if it's because he's depressed or honestly, if it's because he's not that guy anymore.
Well, that's interesting then, because you guys know the old Picard. How is he different from that Picard?
The old Picard is a lot more. He's smarter and more diplomatic. He would not
Then
tear off
everybody.
He would not
Yeah.
tear off a sign that
Yeah.
says Romulans only. Walk in there and sit down and make a big stink and see what
He
happens.
wanted to fight.
Yeah, and
he just wants
that's-
to brawl.
And
Yeah.
he wouldn't have walked around just saying hello to everyone in their language, like I own
Worship
the place.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, we see this mirror image of him when he first shows up, and everybody does worship him. And you could see in his face when he showed up the second time, he was disappointed and he expected this worship. That's a different Picard.
I think
Raffi
he's-
promised a statue.
Well, that's what I think he's looking for, though. I think this whole journey, I mean, obviously it's his redemption story, but I think he's looking for a place specifically where he is going to be the most capable person in the room and that people are going to know who he is and understand his importance so he can regain his self-confidence.
Stella's got to get her groove back.
Yeah.
So, do you think
He's
though
got to
that
light a car on fire.
do you think that he will, like, it seems like in a way his legacy, whatever we would have thought that was based on TNG, is kind of squashed. And do you think we're going to build up to him reclaiming what is his legacy? Like,
It's not
is
complete-
he revered still?
It's not completely squashed. He is
Yeah.
still revered. If we remember in that premiere episode, when the journalist goes to see him, she really builds him up at 1st.
Before
And
she
then
tears him down.
Rios is talking to his holograms, and the holograms are like, "It's Picard. Aren't you excited?"
I also think the fact that Rios is so chill about Picard giving commands on like the bridge is like a part of that respect level, right? Like that legacy
Yeah.
is still
Right.
there.
I think it'll be a new legacy. I think that old Picard is gone for the most part. It feels to me like I'm watching an uncle, like an older uncle, try and listen to trap music. Like it just doesn't really work. And I think where we have to find and what Picard has to find is who is he today. It's almost like, yeah, you were great, but in retirement, who are you?
That's
You
what
got
I'm
to find
saying.
your new self.
In these 14 years that we didn't really see, he lost his inspiration. He lost his motivation.
His swag.
And now he's found it in trying to protect Data's legacy. But what does that mean for his own legacy? Like, who is he now? It's a little odd.
We got an interesting comment from Christopher Curry who said, maybe when Picard tore off that sign, the Romulan sign, and stepped into that bar, he was looking to see if there would be anyone who would stand up for him in there, which I do think is also an interesting point. Like you come here, you see this segregation, this kind of closing off of society, and you want to do something a little bit brave, a little bit proactive. But he also clearly wasn't looking for a sword fight. He threw his sword down. He didn't want to confront that guy physically. He just wanted to, hey, obviously there's tension here. Let's have the conversation. Maybe in a way that's good.
I really hated when he called the waiter and snapped his fingers, though.
Garçon!
If anyone else has worked in the fucking service industry, I was like, Picard, how could you?
You know,
You're an English gentleman.
I think that whole scene was really interesting and somewhat complex to me. Because on one hand, I couldn't get over the fact that you've got this Romulan-only sign and his confrontation.
So why is it in English?
Yeah, great question. But you've got his confrontation is with a black Romulan who would have been, at least in Earth time, would have dealt with similar segregation. So that was fascinating to me. But yet, like we say, okay, so we're looking at the segregation. He's trying to force integration into this. And then he is a jackass when he gets in there talking about waiter. Like it lacked a certain humility.
Yes.
In the way he did it. It was fairly colonial. Like
he was literally like, I am planting my flag in your land and someone needs to serve me.
Respect me.
But I think he was clearly trying to provoke. Like, even in all of those actions, he dropped the sign, stepped on it to get in there. He kind of shook
Like
and
a
bullied people
colonizer.
away to sit in the seat. He snapped for attention. He was rude because he wanted the confrontation. He wanted the fight.
Yeah.
He wanted to be like, what's going on with you guys? Let's talk. Oh, swords? Never mind.
And it's just
no
another
trouble.
example of how none of those tactics actually work when you are trying to bring communities together.
In fact, it got those guys killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Again,
an accomplice in murder.
Like a colonizer.
So P.W. Gregory says it would have been pointless if the sign was in Romulan. And I think we could have had subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
For
like
sure.
multi-language at least.
Or something, right?
Yeah. I just thought it was kind of funny.
I think James Worm on our Slack, on our patron Slack, which you can join at patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. He was talking about this. This was one of the first takes I read about this scene with Picard. He says it's exactly why Picard didn't want to call upon his Enterprise crew, because he knew he was going to create situations where people would be killed. And it's a total failure of any sense of diplomacy he may have once been touted for, to arrive persona non grata, walk into a bar, act petulant, and as soon as a witness to his failings calls him out, he changes his tune to, "I'm sorry, please, mister, don't hurt me." And he looks over his shoulder.
Did he write in baby voice?
He did.
Yes.
Oh, gross.
And then he looks over the shoulder for the samurai he baited into following him to save him. That's a pretty cynical take, but I kind of mostly agree with it.
Yeah.
Picard a dick?
Ooh,
Is
someone on our
Picard-
Instagram hated that we asked that
I
question.
love that they
That was so-
I'm not agreeing.
I
with
responded,
that, no.
away we go.
We're just asking the question.
We're just asking. We're
But-
having a conversation.
I also do think it was interesting that he ends up getting Legolas to join his cause because
It's a lost cause.
It's
it's
a
a
lost
like,
cause.
that's a
I love-
fucking cool story.
That
beat.
was a great reveal.
These
Yeah.
little elf wizards
And then Girardi's
only,
face was like, what?
they only join lost causes. I was
Like, can you drop me off
"Ah."
at Risa, please?
So yeah, more credence to the idea that he wouldn't invite his old posse
Yes.
to this because
Right.
he's like, I don't want to get them killed.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Girardi, fuck her. But those
Legolas,
guys-
fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Well,
but
who's gonna kill him?
this
Like,
little
after
kid
seeing
I've
that
been
scene?
grooming to be a murder machine, he's sacrificable.
Yeah, he's created some daddy issues in order to get his non-son son to come
Yeah.
and defend him.
Although-
Because he's
although-
a dick.
I do want to get to a place where Picard actually really cares about these people because I really like the dynamic on the Enterprise when he
yeah.
cared about everybody.
I do think he cares about everyone. I think he is using a little bit of that, like, please help me.
He
to his
ignored
advantage.
Raffi after getting her fired for 14 years
Yeah.
while she just smoked dragon flower in the woods.
I think right now he's all about the mission. He
Yeah.
has to get to Soji, wherever she is, before she's killed. And really, he's just has that one-track mind.
I agree. I don't think he cares about them. I don't think he really cares about them yet. And I think that's also a little bit disturbing because the Picard we know cares deeply about his crew. I mean, everything he says feels like he's just using them to get this accomplished.
Do we think it's possible that this isn't our Picard?
Oh
Like,
my
is
goodness.
this another...
Mirror universe Picard?
Like, I don't know. I wonder if there's some...
It's Lorca and face paint.
I know how
Ooh,
Star Trek
I like
is.
that.
I know that Star Trek fans are very forgiving of flexibility. Like they are invested in wherever the journey of a story is going to take them, and they're not clingy to. I'm kidding. Star Trek fans, you're the worst. I
Like,
know
where are you
guys
going with this, buddy?
You guys are fucking crazy, and I bet a lot of people are going to watch this and say, "That's not my Star Trek. That's not my Picard.
Sure.
This exists outside of canon." And I'm like,
They wear
nah.
MAGA hats as well.
Wow. No,
But-
look. I don't know if we're gonna say it's not my Star Trek. I will say this isn't the Picard I'm used to. But I think what we've seen with Discovery is, I mean, it's been 14 years. It's been
Right. Who doesn't change over 14 years?
well, not only that, but I think even when we look at where Star Trek has come since, since Voyager and Deep Space Nine and TNG. How we watch television, how we interact with stories have changed. So for them to go back, and honestly, I think if they came back and gave us a new TNG, we'd all find a way to complain about it.
Oh, 100%.
Because it would move too slow, it would be too predictable and too episodic.
I've seen this before.
Yeah, it drive us nuts. So they're giving us something different, and it feels different. Like it literally feels different.
I mean, I don't want to come across as complaining about this aspect. In fact, I really like that he's a complex and kind of a dickish character.
Yeah.
The other
in a
thing
way. I'm like,
I think I have to get over a little bit of a hump and get to where you are to really enjoy this series. Because if I allow myself to not be, I don't want to say upset, but just weirded out by the fact that I didn't get to see this change happen to Picard, all of a sudden I'm dropped in and he's a different man. It's making me feel a little disconnected from the character.
hashtag not my Picard.
But if I can get over that, I think I'll have fun with this series. I'm already having fun with it, but I think I can have more fun with it.
I also wonder too, because we are not as episodic, in the new series, right? Did I just use the right word? I'm getting a little tired. So I think it's also like this age of television. We all love anti-heroes, right? Like we all fucking loved Breaking Bad, and like we all loved Don Draper, and they were all dicks.
Yeah.
Like, they were assholes.
Yeah.
But I think we can learn to love more complicated characters because we get to be with them for a longer amount of time and see a fully fledged like human being. And I think when you were, the reason I loved Star Trek as a kid is because you didn't have to watch every episode. You could watch it on Thursday night with your parents, and whatever episode was on, that was what you watched, right? But you had to hold on to these character tropes for those episodes to make sense. And now that we have the time and the way that we watch television has changed, we now have to have more complicated characters, because how boring would it be week after week watching no one grow or change?
Yeah, the serial format we're getting here gives the showrunners an opportunity to really dive deep into this character.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
Soha says, Grant
Nope,
2020.
I disagree completely. Not gonna happen.
Star Trek
Stop
fans,
talking.
you're the worst. And
Wow.
then JC says Grant is the Elnor of
Yeah,
this
no,
show.
that's the one I was talking about. No
Absolute
way.
candor.
No way. Not believing that. No, I miss the simple characters a little bit. I miss the hero. You know, I miss going, wow, this is the person that I can root for that's gonna save the day every time. And while I appreciate the three-dimensional anti-hero, the complicated hero that we get now, it's starting to get to the point where every character is like that, right? Like every story has this person that is, you know, mostly good and mostly bad and really torn. That sometimes I'm just like, can you just give me somebody that I know, man, that guy's the smartest guy in the room and he's gonna get it or she'll get it.
I was thinking a little bit about why, of all books they could have chosen, he gave the kid 3 Musketeers, and it seems to me like okay, he wanted him to be a sword fighter. It's like instrumental in his development of wanting to learn sword fighting, old classical style combat, melee combat kind of thing, and also I was thinking about like we're seeing a lot of.
This is gonna be real good. I mean,
You think it's gonna be?
I mean, I'm putting a lot of pressure on you because this better be an epic comment. So let's hit it, Grant.
Well, shit. Now I'm gonna shit the bed here. Thank
Come
you
on,
a lot. Thank you
Elnor.
so much.
Bust
Well,
out that sword.
No, I was thinking that like the idea that he's abandoned the Romulans. He's abandoned Raffi. He's abandoned his set of principles of the man he thought he was and the legacy that he thought he was leaving with Starfleet. But one of the big themes of Three Musketeers, their battle cry, is all for one and one for all. And maybe that's what it's bringing it around to. He's kind of gathering a squad of sacrificial lambs to his end goal, his mission of figuring out what Data's legacy with the synths is, right? But maybe what he's assembling as this team of people that he thinks are expendable are people that he is going to suddenly align himself with and realize, no, we all need to be in this together. So I don't know, is that enough for you,
I like
Clyde?
that. No, that's pretty good. Good job.
You put a lot of pressure
know.
on me.
And you delivered, though. I put pressure on you, and you
You
delivered.
unsheath the sword and you cut his head off. Good job.
Ah.
Good job, Elnor.
I know we passed this a long time ago, but because we were trying to figure out Rio's accent, I figured out why none of us can place it. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
So he was born in Caracas, Venezuela, to Chilean parents, and he grew up in London, Romania, Toronto, and Madrid. And he splits his time between Chile, London, and Los Angeles.
So you're saying it's not my fault that I don't know where that accent's from. Thank
Correct. I just wanted to
Pick a lane, Rios.
But it's probably why he can do so many accents, which is kind of cool.
It's impressive, yeah.
He's a fucking chameleon.
World traveler.
Yep.
Well, I want to see what they're going for with this idea of all these holograms and this being
Yeah.
this kind of shattered split personality. Is he the Rios, the human captain that we know, only
What
a
if
shell
he's
of
a
himself?
hologram?
Because he seems like he's like Voldemort, and he's Horcruxed his personality into all these other little holograms, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Is-
Like
is he
we
only a
haven't
part of
seen him.
himself?
We haven't seen him off the ship, so maybe somehow he's plugged into the ship
But
and
I mean, he
projecting
did
himself.
get
Is
the.
Rios a hologram? Is that what you're saying, Mike?
Maybe.
But he had the thing in his shoulder when we met him.
Right.
So
He can bleed. He is man.
Yeah.
But
what if he's also a synthetic?
That's what,
what if
everybody's a Cylon.
What if he's been compartmentalizing certain parts of his personality and emotions into hologrammic
I like that idea.
sections so that he doesn't have to feel anymore?
He doesn't want to feel.
I don't know if that's how it works, but
That's exactly how it works.
okay,
That's how mental health works. Absolutely. You just like project yourself.
projection and compartmentalizing. Yes.
Perfect.
Do you guys want to talk theories?
Okay.
Okay. Who has theories?
So I, for once, don't have a theory this week. I just really wanted to take in the plot, so I wasn't going down too many rabbit holes this week.
I want to hear if anybody has any theories about Soji and the Destroyer and why she's interested in this Romulan ship that got Borgified, but then the Borg were not able to turn these Romulans, and now they're all crazy.
You have a theory. Lay it on us. What
Go
is
for
it?
it, Mike.
I don't really have a theory. I'm stealing a Reddit theory.
Okay.
Grant was cool enough to do a mini episode on the feed a few days ago, and you mentioned one
Really
theory. Yeah, so cool. Oh my god.
I was trying to feather my hair.
Yeah.
Is that a cool thing people do still? Feathering
You
their
won't be
hair?
able to do that in a few weeks.
Oh, God.
And you can probably talk about this theory a little better that maybe the Romulans are synths.
Oh,
What was
do you
that?
want me to pull up the theory? Did I put it on here? Didn't I put a link to it?
I don't know.
I did.
All right.
Reading the theory he found on Reddit.
All right. This is a cool theory.
So this theory, I already read it before. It came from ST Thoughts, but I would love to discuss it with you guys on here. The person says, this is a bit of a Hail Mary prediction, but I think I figured out the plan for Picard. The Romulans are essentially the Cylons of the Vulcan race. Before the divergence of the Vulcan and the Romulan species, probably like thousands of years ago, or at least like 10 years ago, the Vulcans had created a synthetic life form race. The synthetics would go on to rebel against the Vulcans and would leave the planet in order to start their own society. This would lead the Vulcans to embrace logic, reject their past ways that led them to making Romulans. And the Romulans would essentially be those synthetics that, like, time has forgotten that they
Whoa.
were synthetics.
I like that a lot.
So the Romulans would in turn have found their new society, forget their origins as synthetic race, having developed biological bodies, and go on to live their Romulan lives.
Go ahead.
With the exception, Michael, of the Zat Vash.
Oh.
The Zat Vash
Right.
are the memory keepers for
Right.
the society, essentially. They're the ones who protect the secret of the fact that they came from synthetics, and they want to eliminate all other developments within the galaxy of synthetics. I'm going to just kind of abbreviate what's going on here. So that's why the Zat Vash attacked Mars, stopping humans' development of synthetics, because the fear is like, oh, if you figure out this, you might figure out that we're also synthetics, and there might be a backlash against us in society.
Yeah.
But now
I love it.
there is this secret little enclave within Earth of a person probably named Dr. Girardi. I'm just going to make this up on my own now, who went ahead and went rogue and started creating a bunch of synthetics, including Soji and Daj and like her Sense8 posse. And those people are in hiding while they kind of had this little splinter group of Doji and Saji and Soji and Daji.
Daj and Soji.
And do you think then that's why Narek is so into her, because he is actually not a synthetic, because he's part of the Zat Vash?
Yeah.
Right.
I do think he's part of the Zat Vash.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, we can make robot babies together.
Though I think he is. It's definitely feel like it's lining up that he's going to be more into Soji than he's supposed to be. His sister sees that.
Right.
So it's kind of telegraphed, but
Well, probably because he's still a Romulan, and if you've grown up in that, and if you actually like thinking that if this theory is correct, right, that if all of the Romulans that he's grown up around are synthetic, then
Right.
it feels very at
Natural.
home. Yeah.
This theory works for me a lot because we don't know a lot about the Romulans in Star Trek. We really don't. So it would work. And the idea that Laris was talking about how there's a secret that the Zat Vash are holding, and it's tied to the idea that they hate or they're Luddites and technophobes. And she said something insane like the secret is so dark and crazy it'll destroy your mind if you know it.
Melt your brain.
It'll melt your brain. That is total like robot talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me want to go back and look at any interaction Data had with the Romulans.
Ah, interesting. Now, Clyde, you already talked a little bit about this at the top of the hour, but you were mentioning the idea that Soji, you think could, or not Soji, Dr. Girardi, well, combined, you thought she might be a synth.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you have a little bit more details for this theory.
Not a lot. I wrote in my notes. Dr. Girardi is a weirdo.
And weirdos are synths.
No,
They're robots.
I feel
It's
like
so racist.
no. I just feel like she has no chill, right? So she's running around the ship. She can't just like chill. She's first of all, she basically invited herself onto this mission, right? She's nosing into everything. She has no downtime. She's just like, "What's that? What are you talking about? What's going on here?" I'm just wondering if the reason why she's so passionate is that she's a synth, that she was created maybe by Bruce Maddox to, further his research, but ultimately she's interested in this because it's her own personal kind of origin story.
I
Just a
wonder
thought.
too if she is like, oh, I lost the thought. It was something about like why do they need Picard? Like why was Picard then like looped in? Did she create Soji and the twins in order to bring him in for a particular reason? Like what is what is his piece of the puzzle that he needs to bring?
I would think Picard is a fly in the ointment because Soji might be made from pieces of data, and it's those pieces that she didn't account for that are pulling Picard in or reaching out for him. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to point out that there was, I already talked about how I liked the dialogue a lot here,
It was
but I
good.
also thought there was a lot of really good quotes in this episode, so I tried to write a few of them, and I might have written them a little bit off because I was like looking up and looking down and trying to type, and I type with two fingers. Anyway, one impossible thing at a time.
I like that.
Anyone else think the way of absolute candor sounds potentially annoying? I thought
Girardi.
Girardi had a great line there.
She had a lot of good lines.
Choose to live, I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Especially when he then murders a dude with a sword. Just not enough sword murder. I love sword murder.
Sword murder's good.
When it's appropriate.
When he cuts the head off and then it's like still chilling there.
I mean, it's a
those are
little more
always good.
exciting than a phaser blast. Yeah.
That's the fun, right? It's you slice the head and then you're waiting for it to slide off the neck.
It's like you're dead. You just don't even
You
know
don't
it
even
yet.
know. You're still blinking and talking, and it's like, wait a second. Okay, now you're dead.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Then
the
head's
dialogue in this made me want to go, Shibon! 2 thumbs up for Shibon.
I had a couple questions for you guys. Maybe you know a little bit better. What are the Fenris Ragers?
That's a new concept, right?
So it's a brand new concept. The Fenris Rangers are largely this kind of protection force for the people in this sector. And it's interesting because if you kind of look at some of the mythology, Fenris was a Norse, kind of a North mythological wolf.
Like Thor. Like in the time of Thor and
That
Odin.
mythology, yes.
Fenris, I think we saw it in Thor Ragnarok, right? Isn't that big wolf character?
Yes, maybe.
I kind of remembered something.
Well, what's interesting about that, if you think about in Roman mythology, Romulus and Remus were nursed by wolves. And so
Nice.
you've got this kind of play on this wolf nurse that is protecting them. And the thought is that this is where Seven of Nine has been, right? That she's been this kind of part of these Fenris Rangers, and this is where she's been in the 14 years since.
Do you think she is aware of like the possible Borg Romulan synthetic thing, and maybe she was also on like a slight little mission, and then she's like, God damn it, Picard, why are you out here? I'm fixing it. Don't worry about it.
I hope so, because that'll put her at odds with Picard, which would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to point out that bind your sword to my quest was pretty badass. Or bind your sword to my quest. I said it right. Yeah, good job, Grant. I can read. Just that whole idea of like taking on this ward soldier who's on your death mission.
Very like Knights of the Round Table.
Well, and I think that's what's really cool about this is because on one hand you have this medieval kind of like hero, like honor code, and I'm gonna take on this hopeless mission, but we're doing it in Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's in the future, it's technological, it's advanced, and yet so we have this juxtaposition of these two things. That's what's really kind of fascinating, and it works. It really does work for me.
Well, Star Wars is the ultimate space epic fantasy, whereas Star Trek's always that ultimate epic sci-fi. And now they're dipping into the Star Wars pot, it seems, because they realize that maybe Star Wars is better. Oh, what are you guys going to do about that, listeners? Now what?
Grant
We
Davis
just
does
lost
not.
all
yeah,
of our patrons.
I just threw
Great.
down your Romulans only sign and I stepped on it.
Grant Davis
Garcon.
does not speak for the rest of us.
I want to start a fight.
I'm just saying, you can reach him at Baron Von Grant.
All right, Picard.
You guys
Now you're
can.
regretting wearing the same shirt as
I
him.
know. It's
Yeah.
not me, it's him.
What'd you guys also think of the Romulan rebirth movement that they talked about is a kind of threat on that planet Vashti?
I think anytime you see folks who are trying to insulate themselves from other societies, it's never usually a good thing. We've seen that throughout history. Anytime you're just like, only this kind,
Yeah.
it doesn't end well. So, and it's, I think in this case, it's because of the injustices that they have felt. But, I think I need to see more to fully understand. It was just like a 1 or 2 liner about like what's kind of going on, right?
I really like the idea that it's just more social commentary.
Yeah.
Right? It's more social commentary. We had the commentary about taking in refugees or not taking in refugees with the Romulans. Now we have, because we gave up on them, or the Federation did, we have these isolationist sects popping up, which we also see today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. I mean, it genuinely actually happens a lot whenever large, developed countries go into another country and try to fix things up, and then we just ruin it so much more.
By wearing their Panama Jack hats.
Yes,
No.
and then too, like when you see after like disaster relief, and so just to like put an asterisk on this, I used to work in the nonprofit field for a very long time. Like I'm fairly actually well versed in this stuff, but the problem is usually you don't dig deeper into the actual issues. It's like what happened with if everyone fucking loves their Tom's shoes, but what happened was they were giving away all these shoes, and then all of the local cobblers and shoemakers went out of business because everyone was just getting free shoes.
Ah, for real?
Yes.
That's
And
so
so
sad.
it's like
Yeah.
these models, these people who think I can change and fix this society for you is the problem. And so it happens a lot when people who come from privilege are coming into spaces and thinking they know what's actually best instead of talking to communities to figure out what is best.
Never trust Toms.
No.
That Tom,
From MySpace.
MySpace, Tom Hanks, don't trust him.
Tom Waits.
Tom
You can trust Tom Waits.
Waits is probably
I think
on
Tom
the level.
Hanks is fine. Some of his kids, I'm not so sure.
Oh, the one that's a rapper?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Let's jump into some listener questions. First, I want to mention one. Wasoha says, I have a theory that Narek is going to bone his sister.
I think they already have.
I think that's a done deal.
I think
Wa-
Mike
Wasoka.
already has some fanfic about that.
Better Mike than me.
yeah.
Better Mike than me.
It's
mean-
been shoved into that corner for this
Hide.
season.
Hide claims.
At Mike Moody on Twitter.
I would like to also point out that after my comments, people said, Wasoha said, unsubscribed, disliked,
Yeah.
rated 2 squares out of 5 stars. Kara Lynn said, Grant is just trying to avoid shaving his hair.
It's true.
You're successfully baiting the crowd. Thank you.
Yes, 100%.
Absolute candor.
Wasoho also says, Grant, how does it feel to be a traitorous bastard? Ow. Yes, it feels good. I don't care.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's see. JC says, Pod, Mike, I like your Benedict Cumbercon aesthetic. Oh.
Oh.
What?
Your
It
sexy
does
sweater.
very look like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look like Khan from that awful one.
Right.
The bad movie.
Where he's like, my name is Khan.
More head wiggle, please. Let's see. Christopher Curry says, I really, Picard is going to have PTSD when he sees the cube. Do you guys
Oh.
think that?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
did.
probably. Yeah. Something's going to activate in that brain of his.
So he had,
Can't wait.
he was assimilated, right?
Correct.
was.
For how long?
Back
Long
there.
enough. Locutus.
The cutest. I don't know if we have.
He
I
was-
don't know the
You
exact
got to wear that
timeline.
sexy
It was under
suit?
a week. It was a few days. Yeah.
Is that
he
like
was-
a Hype Williams outfit from a music video?
Oh, his Locutus outfit?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's his FetLife outfit.
Yeah. His Pet Life outfit.
Wasoha says, do you guys think 7 of 9 will remain part of the crew going forward, or just do her episode cameo and go?
It better be a part of the crew.
I need at least 2 episodes.
I think she'll
ideally.
drop in here and there. I think depending on the fan reaction, which I think it's going to be very positive, we'll definitely see her again
What is
this
this
season.
badass outfit she's wearing?
Right?
The costuming on this show is pretty
The
dope.
production designers.
Yeah.
Her ship is gone. She's got nowhere to go.
She's got
that's
nowhere to
true.
go.
Well,
Yeah.
She's going to find something on Freecloud. They have her. We know she's in the next episode.
I mean,
if you,
Fucktown?
Yeah, fuck down.
I thought it
Can
was
we
a
talk for
player's ball.
2 seconds about the preview for the next episode?
Oh, okay. Spoilers for the preview if you guys didn't watch it for episode 5.
They are wearing pimp and pirate
We
outfits.
can't
looks
do
so-
this. I don't have my eye patch, so we can't talk about
I'm
this.
saying this has to be a Frakes episode, this next one. If
It
they're
has to be.
Yeah, they're going full like
But she goes
costume.
in like guns a-blazing in that. So
Yeah.
she's
We
at
are
least in
gonna
one more.
have to dress it up next week
Okay.
for our discussion.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Feather boas and shit.
I think everybody's just gonna show up with an eye patch. That's like the easiest thing you
might.
can do.
I literally might.
I gotta
I'll
figure out
look
what
at
I
my
got.
notes like this. I can't read.
Can you guys explain real quick? 7 of 9. She's from which show?
Voyager.
Voyager. And does
Yes.
Voyager happen concurrently with Next Generation?
They
or-
overlapped in the timeline, but didn't air at the same time.
But Voyager's
Right.
supposed to happen a little bit later. It like continues on after the
Yeah.
events of
Yes.
TNG.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
They
so-
did a little, it's Star Trek. There's some timey-wimey happening, but
So is she supposed to be post the events of the Voyager TV show here, or is she
Yes.
during it sometime?
Post.
it'd be post.
Post.
Yeah.
Post.
Okay.
Yeah, she's 14 years after the season finale of Voyager.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, so the season finale of Voyager happened right when Mars blew up, or whatever.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, they got stranded, and this
Oh,
is
wait.
gonna make sense to you.
No.
No what?
Voyager ended 14 years ago on TV. I'm not sure about the
The
actual
actual
timeline.
Oh, then
timelines.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they got stranded in the Delta Quadrant, which for you, Grant, means far, 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 far away. And it took them, forever to get back.
The
And when-
entire series.
the entire series. And
Yeah.
then they get
Well,
back.
imagine being
They-
stranded thousands of years in the future, like poor Michael Burnham. That's worse.
Poor
I think it's
Michael
gonna be
Burnham.
dope.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Threateningly. P.W. Gregory says Picard was a Borg during the Battle of Wolf 359 and was responsible for many deaths in Starfleet.
Yeah.
Wolf, again.
Think about that legacy, guys.
Yeah.
Woof.
I mean, I never really connected with that. He wasn't responsible. He was assimilated. He was a different person. I understood why Cisco was upset with him because Cisco's wife died in the Battle of Wolf 359, and it was just kind of it was PTSD for Cisco, and there was somebody he could put his rage on.
Hold up. Carolyn K3 says in the novels, Janeway was also assimilated, became the Borg queen, and killed 60 million people. What?
Shout out to Carolyn, somebody else who reads the novels. I'm just saying, I'm not the only one. Just saying.
There's dozens of us.
Christ, I do not want to read that.
Damn. I don't,
That is pretty harsh.
I'm gonna
though.
just erase that memory because Janeway is my favorite captain. So whatever you just
Well,
said.
Janeway was assimilated on the show, but they did some wonky stuff where she
Yeah.
didn't really get assimilated. She just looked like a Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carolyn also said, Mariah, I love your Poco. Read of this episode.
Oh,
Your Poco? Is that? I don't,
my Poco read?
maybe I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Poco is tiny.
Person of
Your hot take, maybe?
Possibly.
Poco is a rock band, says Google.
Says Google.
That's Toto. I think you meant Toto.
Poco is an American country rock band originally formed by Richie Furay.
Maybe they just mean when I said "daddy issues" is the name of the
We'll,
game.
we'll find out in a few minutes when
Yeah.
the delay kicks in. And
Right.
they're like, no, it's a
No.
typo, you sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Well, so it says, by the way, oh, never mind. I'm going to skip that. That's just something I need to fix later.
What'd you mess up?
I messed up a link, apparently.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I also wanted to bring up real quick that I liked Rios eating while he was like in that dogfight battle. I think he's chomping on. It's either like
yeah.
some jerky or a cigar or
I
something.
think yeah,
It's
it's
a
a
cigar.
cigar. It's a
Yeah,
cigar.
I like he was like, okay, we're in a dogfight now. Where's my cigar? Don't.
It just seems so casual. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, you're doing the cool thing. I like it.
What do you guys think about the money thing? Do you think because during TNG and Voyager and DS9
There's no money.
we were post, scarcity.
Oh, yeah,
Post coin.
We were post coin, post scarcity, no money, and then we've had multiple references to money and currency in the past 2 episodes of Picard. So, are we back in the? Are they using money now again? What's happening?
I mean, I don't know yet, but I would assume it's probably because like the Federation messed up a bunch of stuff. They're in this sort of like pirate world, and so you have to find something of value to trade. And so whatever the definition of cash might be, for them, I think is something to think about. I don't know. Also, I think because there's probably new fans watching this show that might not know there isn't money.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I think in large part what's happened is the TNG and even to some extent, Voyager and DS9 gave us this world where a lot of things that we deal with today were just fixed, right? Like there were no real medical issues and there was no kind of commerce and there was no racism and life was great. And again, now that we're seeing that it's hard to write stories when that's the world you live in. And so I feel like they've unwound some of that a bit.
Right. I think that's the major reason. It's hard to write stories when everything's perfect.
Poco was post-colonial.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
El Poco Loco?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's about it on listener comments. You guys also had a bunch of other ones there, but I don't want to sift through everything.
Gosh, Grant.
Lazy much.
JC says fans are crying about the money thing. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. We'll see, though. I think it's going to be fun in those pimp costumes.
It's gonna be
Okay.
a lot of fun.
Oh, man. Episode 5 looks like a blast. Yeah.
I remember bits and pieces of what the deal was with TNG, and it always seemed like they were going into some fucking Ren fair or dressed up in goofy costumes.
It
and
happened
some
once or twice
holodeck
a
or
season.
something.
I
Once or
mean,
twice a
even
season.
the original series also loves to
man.
put people in like traditional wear of wherever they're
Oh,
going.
no, but they would in the original series they would show up to the gangster planet, and all of a sudden
Yes.
it's
the
like
best.
everybody's Al
got like a
Capone.
Tommy gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also in the original series they love to show up in like the toga world, like Roman times.
Love some
like,
togas.
Some dicks hanging out.
Love to wrestle dinosaurs.
Yes. It's always something.
You gotta
So
watch the original series.
It just feels like a good throwback, I guess, to whatever those are.
Yes.
Probably
Yeah.
for
It
you
looks-
guys more so, but
Yeah.
it just seems silly and fun to me.
I want
and
that right now. I think at this point, like
I'm
after
ready for it.
after what 4 hours of people just dogging on Picard, I think put on an eye patch, go have some fun.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he used to love getting in costume and going on the holodeck.
That's
so.
true. Yeah, that's Dixon Hill.
Dicks.
Acting!
Yes.
Acting!
Do I get to wear an eye patch?
Can I do a soliloquy?
So I think it's about time for us to beam the fuck on out of here.
Wrap it up.
Thanks everyone for joining live, and thank you audio listeners for listening to the pod. Please visit StarTrekPod.co to subscribe. We have an extensive back catalog covering every episode of Star Trek Discovery, so check that out. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Star Trek Pod, where we post the Star Trek memes and the news and the gifs and the updates. And if you follow us there, that helps us out a lot. Grant, tell us about Patreon.
Okay, guys, look. Patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. Go there, make your donation, then go up to your parents' room, rifle through their purse or their wallet, grab their credit card, make a donation on their behalf. Find your neighbor, dig through your neighbor's trash, figure out their card info, make a donation on their behalf.
Just
really,
some light identity theft.
Yes.
it's okay. It's okay because in the future we'll be post coin. There will be no debt for them later. So just looking forward. Be a little progressive in your views and steal from them. Give us money because we are not post coin.
No.
We
No,
need it. We need
we
that
need it.
sweet latinum or
Yes.
whatever.
So that we can have real comm badges.
We need real con badges.
Hey, tell them what they get if they give us coin.
If you guys get to 100 patrons, I'll shave my head by next week. I'm skeptical it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
You're praying it won't happen.
I'm praying it won't happen.
Tell your friends.
If,
Tell
if
your
something
friends.
weird does happen, though, I'm sure it's gone.
But also, if you
I have a wedding I'm supposed to go to. It's gonna
oh god,
This is gonna
oh
be
yes,
awesome.
ruin Grant's this wedding,
This
please.
is gonna be awesome.
So if you give us $2, you get access to our Slack, our private Slack, and if you give us $5, you get a sticker, and you get to suggest a topic for a Patreon episode that we have to do.
Ooh.
And man, our Patreon episodes are getting super fun. We
I
took
love
a
'em.
great quiz last week.
Oh,
Yeah, we
that
did.
was fun.
And one of us
Nope.
was Wesley
Nope,
Crusher.
nope.
We're pointing at Clyde.
It was Clyde.
You know, that's been haunting me all week.
I'm sorry.
I still love that I was Worf.
I mean, I started
too.
to. I was trying to watch the Ready Room and just couldn't do it.
Oh
Just
right,
staring.
yeah.
Couldn't do it.
Okay, Grant, where can we follow you and your work online?
You can find me at Baron Bon Grant B-A-R, you know, whatever. Baron Von Grant. You can find it I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I think it's like the Grant Davis site. I do a bunch of other shows. If you guys want to check out The Beerists, that's a beer podcast I do. If you want to do Who Pods, occasionally I jump on there to talk about, well, Watchmen's over, but we're starting to talk about Star Wars, the better sci-fi series.
This guy.
Can I say that?
No.
Create Pod. I do a podcast called Create Pod with this guy.
He'll have
It's a
to
lot of
shave
fun.
his head if you pay us money.
So pay up.
Yeah, you can find me. I'm on there. I don't know. Look for my name.
All right, Mariah, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Mariah Gossett. It's MYRRIAH and GOSSETT. Have fun spelling it.
Clyde.
You can find me at Clyde Haynes on Twitter, and you can also find me at keyandclyde.com, where my wife and I host a couple other podcasts.
All right.
Mike, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Mike Moody, just the way it sounds. And until next week, live long and prosper.
Bye.
Holla.
Bye.
Sometimes you just have to bow to the absurd.